I'm gonna call you 12-y.
Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercising my First Amendment rights vlog style, here with episode number 12 of Shades Shirt Collection, that series I make videos for that nobody asks me to, but I do anyway. This is basically my storytime vlog series, as well as a way for me to essentially flex about all the cool adventures I go on out here in my real life. Anyway, I know you're probably thinking, oh god, another shirt collection video, great. I hear ya, I getcha. But I figure by now, I feel like I need an easy video to put out after the last 3 that I put out that were fairly complex and whatnot. I need something easy to put out, and I'm in kind of a video making mood. And I also feel, since it's the middle of the year, which is when I tend to put one of these videos out, like one in the middle of the year and one towards the end of the year, and while we're still under quarantine, and every concert I had tickets for the rest of this year all got postponed to next year, and I'm unsure if I'm going to be going to any more concerts this year. We will have to see. I figure, you know, let's just knock one of these videos out and get everything that I have for this out of the way, and by the time I actually start going to concerts again, I'll have, you know, actual material for this. And another thing that I'm actually thinking about before I get started here, I'm thinking of having Shades Shirt Collection be a thing I do in my live streams. It can just be a thing I do there, or I can just do a stream talking about a concert that I went to and, you know, the shirt that I picked up there, and just have that be the thing. So this could very well be the last, you know, traditional video for this series that I ever make, depending on how you guys feel about this. I'm sure you probably don't care, but, you know, I'd still like to hear your feedback regardless. So now that that introduction's out of the way, let's shimmy on over to the side and make room for my visuals, and here we go. So the first shirt I got here is actually a band that I've seen live before, and I've actually met before. And if you've been following me long enough and you're familiar with, you know, my concert-tography, I guess you could call it, and, you know, the bands that I've gotten to meet in person, you probably have some guesses as to who this band might be. The last time I saw this band was in 2017, and it was one of the best days of my life. This is my second time seeing them, and they were opening for a band that I'll get to later. It's actually a pretty fitting kind of bill, but this band that I'm going to be talking about here is Polyphia. Polyphia are one of my favorite current bands. They're probably the band that is really popularizing instrumental guitar music for this generation. I mean, obviously, there's an audience for the stuff, but Polyphia is probably the band that's getting a lot more people exposed to it, since there's, you know, a mathy side to it, a bit of a, you know, funky, hip-hoppy kind of feel to it that you heard on their last album, New Levels, New Devils, which is what they played mostly from at this show. There wasn't really a lot of metal stuff in this set of theirs this time around. And another thing is that the crowd was much bigger this time around than when I saw them in 2017, and it was really cool to see like how much they had grown as a band and how much their audience has really grown since that time in 2017. So I was pretty pleased with this set. It was a much different set. There was also a point where Clay Gober, the bassist, did a stage dive. The only thing I didn't really like was that there was a lot of shoving around. You know, I'm not sure if I've talked about this on my channel before, but I don't really like moshing because, you know, I'm here to see live music. I would really prefer to not be, you know, pushed and shoved around all the time. That's really kind of a testament as to how really rabid their audience has become as well. They're that excited to see this music, you know? So this is the shirt that I got, and honestly, I like this one a lot better than my other one. The first one has a lot more sentimental value since, like I said, that was one of the best days of my life. Meeting them was one of the coolest things I'd ever done, but I like this design a lot better. For one, we actually see the name of the band, and, you know, pink and black is actually a pretty cool aesthetic. The shirt is kind of tight-fitting and stretchy as well. I kind of like that. I also really like this hand with a snake in there, you know, just sort of coiled around the fingers. That's a pretty cool design. And then at the bottom we have various logos, including the Illuminati logo for some reason, as well as their like black metal logo. I've never understood why they have that, but it exists. So yeah, this was fun. Before I get to who they were opening for, I want to talk about one of the bands that was opening on this tour. Another very fitting band. A band that I had gotten into very recently before this show. A fan of mine was sending me a link to one of their songs asking what I thought of it. I said it reminded me of the band that they just so happened to be on tour with, and he says, oh, they're on tour with them, and I'm like, are you serious? This band would be Sleep Token, a band that is very hard to categorize. Like, the way I kind of group them in is as like prog metal, since they basically combine ambient with gent and weird stuff like that, and they also wear masks, so yeah, they're pretty all over the place, but I like what they had to offer, and I was pretty stoked that I was seeing them on this. One thing I want to talk about, actually, that I did during their set, those of you that follow The Rock Critic will know that he did not speak too favorably of the album that they put out last year, and I, of course, very much disagreed with what he had to say, so during their set, there was like 1 or 2 times where I literally shouted out loud, "Rock Critic doesn't know what he's talking about!" And one of those times I think I had like one person looking at me, so I was like, yeah. So who was this band that was headlining this tour? Well, it's another band that I've sung the praises of on this channel for quite a while. They're another one of my favorite current bands out right now. This band would of course be Issues, a band that, like I said, I adore, I very much admire. I love their really unique approach to metal and rock and whatnot, basically combining nu metal with metalcore, with post-hardcore, with some gent, and some R&B pop stuff to go along with that as well. They're pretty all over the place as well, which is the thing that I really liked about this particular bill. You had Issues, Polyphia, and Sleep Token, like all bands that are very like innovative and unique and really bringing something fresh to the table, and having them all together, it's like, wow, this bill is just excellent. Didn't really care very much for Lil Aaron, which was another person on this bill. He's basically one of these rapper combining like hip hop with metal and whatnot. Didn't really like his approach there and whatnot. And the other band opening, they were called Dreamwake. I thought they were pretty good, but I arrived pretty late in their set, just in time to catch Sleep Token's set. But Issue's set was pretty fun, and I know that they had recently let go of their scream vocalist, Michael Bond, which left a lot of people feeling kind of skeptical as to how their last album, Beautiful Oblivion, was going to turn out. I enjoyed the album a lot. Like, musically, it tickled a bone that I really just like being tickled, and thus I enjoyed the album a lot, even though it has probably the worst song in their discography, which unfortunately is actually like written on this shirt. It's the only thing I don't like about this shirt, is that it says Flexin' over there. I don't like Flexin'. It's their worst song. It's the weakest part of the album, and they unfortunately played this live, but outside of that, I had a really good time with this set. Tyler Carter is such an energetic and engaging frontman, and something I just really like seeing, and the other members are very competent, very equipped, and like I said, Issues is just a wonderful band that I think a lot of people should be paying attention to, especially those of you that think metal and rock have gotten stale and whatnot. They're a band that's trying to do something new. Just like I said in the Why I Hate the Rock is Dead argument video, a band like Issues is kind of a necessity these days. This was the design that I liked the best. I always really liked how their logo looked, but the only thing I don't really like about this shirt, apart from the flexing thing, is just how kind of small the design looks against a white background. I would have liked if there were more to it, but like I said, this was the design that I like best, in part because we have tour dates on the back, which of course, as you know, I like when shirts that I pick up have. But yeah, this was a solid show and a solid way to walk out of 2019, out of the 2010s and into 2020, for better or worse. Next, I got something that I've never done in this series for quite a while, and that would be a YouTuber's merch. It's not that I have a problem with it, it's just that I haven't really been purchasing it, mostly because I either don't really like the designs, or I just can't really see myself wearing it and whatnot. This one, however, was one that had a cool enough design that I could actually see myself wearing, and I'll explain what compelled me to purchase this after I reveal who this mystery YouTuber is. Now, as to who it is, I will ask you this question. Who do you know are my favorite YouTubers? You're probably thinking, oh, Music is Win. Nope, not him. you're probably thinking Cover Killer Nation, or Emp Lemon, or Armored Skeptic, or some black guy, or Right Opinion, or anybody like that. Nope, it's none of them, and now that I've kind of narrowed it down, this is the one favorite that I have that I haven't mentioned. Yes, this would be ARTV. ARTV is my favorite music reviewer, and my second favorite YouTuber in general, after Music Is Win. And the reason why that is because he reminds me a lot of myself in terms of music taste. For one, you know, we like a lot of similar bands and artists, especially when it comes to pop punk and 2000s rock and whatnot. I definitely see eye to eye with him on a lot of that kind of stuff. He might not be as much into metal as I am, but outside of that, you know, I do see myself as having a very similar taste to him. His video style reminds me a lot of mine in terms of editing, in terms of presentation, in terms of topics even. Like, when I see his videos, they remind me a lot of videos that I could see myself making, especially with his countdowns, whether it be his favorite song countdowns, or his 7 on Sunday videos, or his Reasons People Hate videos. They remind me a lot of my videos, so of course I was going to click very well with him. That is the kind of relationship that I have with his content. I always get stoked to watch a video from him, no matter what the topic is. And there have definitely been some bands that I've gotten into through him, like most notably Trash Boat in 2018. He spoke very highly of them, and I checked them out, and I was like, yes, this is one of my fucking favorites of this year in 2018. And they're a band that I can see bringing some new to the table, and another band that I think people should be paying attention to. Like, if you're somebody that thinks that pop punk is kind of played out and whatnot, then Trash Boat is definitely a band that I think you should give a listen. So why did I get this shirt when it's something that I very rarely do? Well, in December, as you probably know, December is basically what is affectionately referred to as Criticmas. It's when everyone makes their year-end countdowns, and John has a bunch that he does in December. He does his favorite albums, his favorite singles, as well as, you know, the corresponding worst lists and everything in between there, and it's a very wonderful time of year. During December, he posted a very stressed sounding video about getting copyright claimed to hell, which is a feeling that I know all too well. Even as somebody that doesn't do YouTube as a job, it's something that I really hate having to deal with whenever I'm working on a video, I do a test upload, and then something gets blocked. Like, something getting claimed doesn't really annoy me as much. I can pretty much appeal those easily. It's not that hard. I still think I shouldn't be having to do that, because what I do and what he does fall under fair use, since the content is being transformative and it's being done for the purpose of commentary and criticism and maybe even education, if you want to consider this kind of content educational. And so after watching that video, I decided to lend a little hand. I went over to his merch store and saw this design. I'm like, yeah, this design actually looks like something I would wear. It looks really pop punk and whatnot. It has very similar lettering that a lot of pop punk bands use. It has the home plate shape because baseball is kind of a pop punk thing. This shirt reminds me a lot of the Bad Case of Big Mouth shirt that I have, and that's the thing about it that really made me feel like, okay, I'm gonna get this. We also have his tagline for the love of music on here, which I always really like that tagline. We have established 2009 under there because, you know, that's when he started making videos. I've only been watching since 2018. I've heard of him prior. 2018 is when I decided to start watching him, and that's when he started really clicking well with me, and I'm like, okay, I'm really going to love this guy's videos. And then finally we have his logo down there. So yeah, if any of you guys aren't subscribed to him on either his main channel or his second channel, Beyond ARTV, if you like what I do, then I can see you definitely liking the stuff that he does. He's basically me with 100,000 subscribers, basically. So if you like the kind of content that I make, the music commentary content, he does a lot of that too. Mostly on his Beyond ARTV channel, but you can definitely get a lot of that on his main channel too. So if you aren't already subscribed to him, he comes highly recommended from me. And if John happens to have stumbled across this video, hi. Thank you for making such cool and interesting videos that really engage me and make me excited to watch, and stuff that I really just have a very great relationship with as far as YouTube content and YouTubers I follow. Keep doing what you're doing, and I salute you. Also, here's this thing that I made. Next, we got my first concert of 2020. This is a band that I've liked for quite a while. They're a band that is sort of, honestly, a band that I probably wouldn't see, mainly because they're missing a classic member, but I decided, I like them enough to make an exception for them because of how much, I really like their albums and whatnot. This band would be The Used, one of my favorites in terms of post-hardcore, 2000s alternative rock, emo, whatever you would like to group them as. Like I said, I've been sort of on the fence about seeing The Used, mainly because, like I said, their original guitarist, Quinn Allman, is not with them anymore. But I decided, you know what, The Used is a very good band. I would like to have them taken off my concert bucket list, so here we are. They did a pretty good set. Burt McCracken is another very excellent frontman. I really love albums like In Love and Death and Lies for the Liars. The only thing I didn't like about this particular set of theirs was they didn't play the song that got me into them, Blood on My Hands. This was the design that I liked the best. It wasn't too edgy, but had enough going on at the same time. Admittedly, it's also kind of a shirt that has left my rotation, but still, this was the one that I picked up. We got the trademark bleeding heart being hung from a noose and whatnot that's associated with them. So yeah, this show was pretty solid. Opening for them was actually the band that Rest Repose basically turned into after Jared Dines and their drummer Chris left the band, basically leaving Tony and Fluff. They basically got some new members and changed their name and changed their style that they were playing into what I call like a metal Rise Against. Like Tony's vocals, if you listen to them on their EP, he sounds so much like Tim McElrath, and that's a big thing that I liked about their EP, and that's why for a while, at the time of this show, it was my #1 release of the year so far. It has of course since been overtaken numerous times. And while I was waiting in line actually to get in there, I actually saw Tony walk into this coffee shop, and by the time I was in front of the door for this place, he was walking out, and I'm like, "Hey, Tony." And I told him that I saw Rest Repose back in New York. I was the guy who was videotaping my questions, so I can't be hard to forget. And he kind of remembered me, and I got a selfie taken with him. He complimented my Bayside shirt that I was wearing. That was very cool to have happen as well. So now we're on to the last concert that I went to, which was all the way back in the beginning of March. So it's been this long since I've been to a concert and this long since I've seen a band live. You can tell I'm very starved and deprived and whatnot. This is the longest I think I've gone without going to a concert since when I was in high school, I want to say. So I got 3 more shirts that I'm gonna talk about here. They were all from this concert because I love all these bands and they all had really awesome designs that I wanted to pick up and support them, and I'm gonna show you all of them. The first one is another band that if you aren't paying attention to, you definitely should. They come highly recommended to the prog metal fans in my audience. They're a band that definitely deserves lots of attention. This band would be Haken. Haken are one of the most excellent bands in prog metal right now. They are so good musically. I thoroughly enjoyed this set of theirs. It was so fun to see. And I've very much enjoyed their albums, especially Affinity, Vector, The Mountain is also good, and I'm looking forward to their album appropriately titled Virus coming out soon. It was supposed to come out earlier this month, but it got delayed to July, and I'm looking forward to it nonetheless because this band is just so good. I was pretty stoked that they were on this bill, and this was the shirt that I picked up. I really like how their logo looks, the sort of line-looking thing along the top. I like this orange Japanese-looking design. Looks pretty cool, and we see, more Japanese lettering on the bottom next to Vector and whatnot, which was their most recent album. This is a very comfortable shirt. I like this shirt a lot. This was something that I was very glad that I picked up because, again, they're a band that I'm very happy that I got to see, and wouldn't be opposed to seeing them again, honestly. The next band on this bill, I didn't really enjoy their set as much as Haken's, but I was still very glad that they were on this bill because I've been into them for a good number of years, and they're another band that I think the prog fans should be paying attention to. This band would be the Contortionist. I got into the Contortionist in a very interesting way. Back when I did my radio show in college, the station has this rule that you're supposed to play 3 songs from the station's computer, which they call the rack, from CDs that get mailed in by record labels. That's how the station makes its money. This was in 2014 when they had put out Language, which is to this day my favorite album of theirs. I decided to play from their album during one of the portions in my radio show when I was playing from the station computer, and I was very entranced with what I was hearing, so that's when I started looking into them, and Language became one of my favorite releases in 2014. Clairvoyant was a very worthy follow-up, and I liked the EP that they put out last year as well. Like I said, I was very excited that they were on this bill because, wow, they are just so interesting and very worth your attention. This was the design that I liked the best. Some cool coloring, so blue mixing into yellow over top a gray backdrop, and I like those little cubes that you got there. This shirt is really soft and really comfortable and sort of feels a lot like this shirt that I happen to be wearing, my Queen shirt. Maybe the secret is gray. I don't know. It's one of my favorite shirts now. A shirt that I always really like wearing because of just how freaking comfortable it feels. Like, so soft. Now for the headlining event at this already excellent sounding progressive metal bill. This individual is one of the biggest figureheads of the genre and in metal in general. He is such a personality and such a good character and an excellent musician who's put out some excellent stuff over the last like 20 years. Maybe 30 years, actually, if you want to throw in the stuff that he did in the 90s. This would, of course, be Devin mother-flippin' Townsend. This is somebody that I've held off way too long on seeing live because, holy fuck, this was a treat. Like I said, he is such a personality. He is so funny and wholesome and entertaining and engaging. Even if I might not consider him one of my favorite people ever, this show and his material, it can't go ignored. You need to see a Devin Townsend show at least once in your life because it is one of the funnest times that I've had. There were stuffed animals on the stage that people give to Devin. He spent like half the show wearing a tutu and just being really jokey and all that and just shaking things up all the time. Like I said, this was fun as fuck. He even played the riff to my favorite song of Devin Townsend's, which is Earth Day, which, just like how 4th of July is Danger Danger Day for me, April 22nd is Devin Townsend Day, because I listen to Earth Day on Earth Day. It's a tradition of mine, just like playing Rock America by Danger Danger is on the 4th of July. He played the riff of that. He didn't play the whole song because the rest of his band didn't have that in their arsenal, unfortunately, but I was glad it got a mention, and there were some other songs that I wish could have gotten played, but on the whole, the set was just so great. And the other guitarist that he had with him was actually Mike Keneally, who has actually played keyboard and some guitar with Joe Satriani, so I was pretty excited to see him playing again because he is a very good guitarist. Like, all this time later, and I still can't get over how fun this was. And maybe a part of me is only looking at it this way because this was my last time going to a concert, but, you know, it sure was a very good last concert to have gone to, a good sort of bang to go out on for the time being while we're in quarantine, and I have to wait for an undetermined period of time before I can start going to concerts again because everything that I had planned for this year all got postponed to next year. The Dragon Force show that I got tickets for, as well as the Symphony X one, as well as the My Chemical Romance and Rage Against the Machine reunion tours that I actually got tickets for, because of course I need to flex about that because I'm that much of a privileged douchebag. But those got postponed to next year too, and I'm very much bummed out about that, but you know what? All this is really saying to me is, okay, if you aren't doing your social distancing mumbo jumbo, if you really want the shit to go away, just keep doing the shit until someone in a higher authority tells you not to, that you don't need to wear your mask anymore, that you don't need to put on the hand sanitizer, that you don't need to do the 6-foot rule, and everything is confirmed to be back to normal. I mean, things are lightening up right now. Thankfully, I was able to take my PRS Floyd in the other day for a full body setup. I was able to get a haircut last month, and I'm pretty sure I'm due for another one soon. And the stores that I hit up on my Sunday night errands dropped their restricted hours, and those are back to normal too. So things are lightening up, but just because things are lightening up doesn't necessarily mean it's over. You still need to do the social distance stuff, like I said, until we are actually told not to, and then things will be back to normal. So no stupid protests about COVID, and no thinking,
oh, I don't need to do this anymore.
No, it ain't over until we're actually told it's over. But anyway, enough with that tangent. This is why I write scripts for my videos, FYI, because I don't like how I sound unscripted, for one, and because of how disorganized and rambly I tend to get whenever I'm not reading from a script. Why I make an exception for these videos, I don't really understand. Maybe it's just to give more of a sort of personal vloggy kind of experience with this, and like I'm actually sort of telling a story and whatnot, but I digress. Back to this shirt, actually, because that's what this is supposed to be about. This was the shirt that I picked up, the design that I like the best. It's another one that feels very comfortable. Again, the secret is gray. I like how the empath looks with the rainbows. That album was also very, very excellent, particularly with the song Hear Me, which, if you can believe it or not, if you can hear it or not, actually features backing vocals from Chad Kroeger. Yes, the Chad Kroeger of Nickelback, if you can actually hear that. It was such an excellent album, and that song is a big part of why. And this particular design, I thought when I was picking it up, I thought that this was like two eagles facing each other, but it's actually an elephant, which is actually kind of cooler because elephants are kind of more awesome than eagles because they're big and powerful and have a cool trunk and big tusks and big ears and are really heavy and bombastic and much more exciting to see. Well, eagles are pretty exciting too, but still, an elephant. Of course I'm gonna like having an elephant on my shirt, because why not? And it's a very majestic looking elephant too. So that is all for this edition of Shades Shirt Collection. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed hearing these stories and hearing me talk about these adventures and bands that I've seen and everything related and all that. It'll probably be a very long time before I do another one of these videos, if I do one. Like I said, I'm toying with the idea of moving this over into a thing that I do in my live streams, or even just not even doing that and just having a live stream after I go to a concert where I talk about that. So that would pretty much defeat the need for having this series. Either way, it'll be a very long time before I do something like this again, so I hope this was a good one for you and that you enjoyed it, even if it's not really my favorite thing to make or even the stuff that my audience really enjoys me putting out the most. Next video I make will definitely be a more compelling one that has a lot more going into it, I can assure you. I just needed to do something a little easy right now. So, thank you for watching this video, take care, have a nice day. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.
Bye, 12E.